Hey guys, so my name is Shauna and I have this channel called The Sinful Horse. So I want to keep this channel going, and by keep it going I mean I want to start taking this channel somewhere. And because of the way that my life is structured right now, in that I'm a working student and I always want to take videos at the barn and do barn vlogs and that kind of thing. But if I did that, I would basically be vlogging a day at the barn, which is a day at work. So that's not something that's really, I don't know, realistic to do. I don't think that my boss would like for me to, bring my camera and a selfie stick and vlog a day at work. That doesn't seem productive. So what I thought that I could consider doing instead is, sorry, if things look different now, I just had to, my camera tripod was kind of falling a little bit. If I were to take my camera to my job every day, that would be pretty weird. So what I'm thinking is kind of opening a little bit of a dialogue in the horse world, meaning that I think that there's a lot of these internet trainer kind of videos where it's a person being opinionated and telling everybody how stupid they are if they don't agree with them. But what I don't see a lot of is kind of a discussion or a channel that kind of opens the avenue for a discussion. So I don't know if that's gonna happen because it's the horse world and that's kind of not how things work, but I think it's worth a try and I think that it could be productive. But anyways, so that's a little bit about kind of where I'm thinking things are gonna go. I'm thinking maybe if you guys are interested in it, more videos like this where I talk about a topic and maybe put my 2 cents in, what I think an impact is or that kind of thing. And maybe some product reviews, I don't know. But we're gonna see how it goes. So what I'm thinking is today talking about this whole situation that we as riders do where we idolize people. We idolize trainers and we idolize horses and we idolize barns, but we don't really know anything about them, right? You kind of know what I'm talking about probably. You maybe have something in your head, like somebody who you know of who idolizes this trainer that you don't see eye to eye with at all, or, thinks that this horse is spectacular and must be perfect, or any of this kind of stuff when, you look at it and you're like, ooh, that's not the best horse out there. Everybody kind of has a rider that sticks out in their mind as being an inspiration. Some people have riders who they kind of look up to in this godlike way where they almost think that they're like a celebrity and that they need to emulate this rider in every way. And I think that that's unhealthy. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And I find it's a little more common in young girls, which I think is pretty unfortunate. And I almost wonder if some of these riders know that. But anyways, so, I mean, we all know why people idolize riders. I think that they see this image of these riders with, whatever decorations they have where they've been to the Olympics or I don't know any really Western terms, but maybe they're at the top of, the Western world and maybe they're a reigning champion and people think, oh my gosh, they're doing something right, they must be perfect, their horses are so pretty, their barn is so pretty, they're everything I want to be. And I really think that that's a bit of a damaging way for people to look at things. And I'll get more into that and why I think that in a bit. But I think that there's a difference between kind of seeing the way that somebody competes and appreciating how they ride in the ring and their riding skills, and if they're an attractive rider, then appreciating that. Like, I think that that's all fine. I think that there's nothing wrong with seeing how somebody rides and thinking, I wish I could be, you know, a half of the rider that they are one day. And I mean, for myself, I could list off a ton of people like that, and I'm proud to say that one of them is my boss and my coach. He's a very quiet, and I think that he emulates softness as a rider, and I really appreciate that, and I think that that's really valuable, and watching him ride is a treasure because I get to kind of see the type of rider that one day I hope that I can have the skills to be, and the type of rider that I'm working towards being. And so on the other side of that, I see riders like, I mean, and being Canadian, this is kind of predictable, but I see Eric Lamaze, and I think, like, he's amazing. Like, I love his competitive edge, and I think that he's really skillful in the ring, and he's incredible at jump offs, and I think that if I ever find the drive as a competition rider, he has skills that I would really like to hone and be able to in some way master. And, you know, Michael Young for a lot of the same reasons, and his bravery on cross country, but that bravery not being recklessness. Which I think is very worrying in cross country, but that's another day. And so I think that that is healthy. I think that you need to have people who you look up towards, both in real life, like with my coach, and through a TV screen or your laptop or whatever it might be, like Michael Young, and I'm saying his name wrong, forgive me, and I just realized that I was doing that, and Eric Lamaze. And I think that that's perfectly healthy, because I think that if you don't have those aspirations that you can kind of look ahead at, then you have nothing to be working towards, really. And so there's nothing wrong with that, and I would never say that there is. But I think that it's when people see all of those accomplishments and see these riders looking awesome on the horse and being, you know, the type of rider they want to be, and then also thinking, well, they must be an awesome person, their training methods must be perfect, they must do this, they must do that, I want to be exactly like them. That's when it's really worrisome. And I get worried about that in anything. It's not just horses. When people see celebrities and singers and they think, oh my gosh, like, I need to be exactly like that person. And I understand exactly what it's like to be a young kid idolizing people. And I was the same way when I was, you know, a teenager, preteen, I guess would be more accurate. But so I totally get it. And I think that a lot of kids do it because they don't really have the full understanding of the difference between real life and public persona. And I think that you kind of start to see that a little more when you grow up a little bit. And I think that that applies to YouTube as well. But I don't want to get into that because this video will be way too long if I do. I think that it's actually pretty upsetting the way that people see riders as being perfect and then see their training methods or see a part of their training methods and think, oh, I gotta do that. I think that there's a big problem with that because, I mean, context is important, and there's so much more to developing a training program than just seeing that someone who you like the equitation of doing and then adopting it. I don't think that's how it works. I don't know how to put this. It opens the door for when people criticize training methods that people put out there, like the controversy around Clinton Anderson and the controversy around Rolker and the controversy around like drugging and hunter jumpers, like any of this kind of stuff. And people criticize it because they don't agree with it. and because they think that there's a better way, and maybe their experiences lead them to believe that those methods just don't work with having a horse who's willing to work for you. You know, they'll get you there, and you can force a horse to do things. People will say that you can't, but you in some way can, to one degree or another. But you don't then have a willing partner who wants to do it. So I think that that's where that criticism comes from. But this idolizing culture in the horse world then kind of opens the door. Everyone's seen the comments that you get in response, like, you don't ride at that level, so you can't criticize them. And so I think that that's dangerous, because I think that not necessarily dangerous, I think that it's damaging to the horse world. It makes that divide between, you know, that upper level of sport and then, you know, the majority of people. It makes that divide even bigger, because then it gives this elitist quality to those organizers and, you know, the sponsors and the riders and the trainers and everybody who does things that maybe a lot of people disagree with, but then these, you know, they're at this level, you can't criticize them. Like, I think that it's actually really important that the majority, the silent majority, I guess, of the horse world, the people that the media doesn't see. Like when the equestrian world gets criticized for abuse, like when racehorses make the news because of deaths in the industry, for example, or anything like that, you know, people see that and then that gets lumped in with all horse people, when in reality that's not the horse world, right? Do you kind of know what I mean? And so I think that it really, in a public sense, delegitimizes the people who ride like for the sake of the horse, because they love the horse, because it's freeing for them, any of this kind of stuff, where their intentions are pure and they only criticize because they care about the animal. It really damages that when people argue that you can't feel that way or you can't express that because you aren't at that level. I think that that's it's upsetting that people feel that way. And I think that it also makes things a little bit problematic when people say those kinds of things where it's like, you know, they win, so they must be doing something right, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't, like, their record speaks for itself, I've heard. And I don't think that that's true. And I think that you can win a lot of things in terrible ways. I really think that you can. Okay, I'm going off topic a little bit. If you have not gone on Denny Emerson's Facebook page, Tamarack Hill Farm, you need to, because he competed at the highest levels of sport in eventing. He's Denny Emerson, right? Like, he's a huge rider. And he's a lot older now than when he was competing at those levels. And he talks about how, yes, he won a lot of things, but he did it in some ways that he is not proud of. Now, I wouldn't ever lump him in with being an abuser of any kind. I don't think that he would either. But I think that you have to read his posts on his page to really understand what I mean, because he's really good at wording this idea that winning means that you're doing something right. Because it doesn't. It doesn't always mean that. And he's the first person to say it. He is the first person to say that you can win things and be a terrible person. A terrible horse person. Just, it happens. It happens a lot of the time. A lot of rushing and... Anyways, go check out his page, Tamarack Hill Farm. He's another inspiration, I would say, to me, and my coach actually worked with him. So he has a big influence in the way that I'm learning to work with my horse. So I think that it's worth reading to kind of help give you a bit of backstory on my thought process here. When we take power away from the majority of horse people who would agree with Denny Emerson and who believe that you can be a poor horse person and a successful competitor at the same time. It's possible, it happens, it's frequent, it happens. Like, it just does. So I think that it gives a bit of like a get out of jail free card, you know? So I think that to wrap up a little bit, and it's going to be a bit of a rambly wrapping up, but I think it's totally productive to have riders and competitors and whatever at the upper level or, you know, within your circle who you really look up to, rather, and who you think, like, especially if they're in your life, they're your coach, they're whatever, and you know how they train, and you think, like, man, there's a lot they do that I want to do. And you're gonna meet those people. Let me just for a second here. You're gonna meet people like that who you think, I really like the way this person rides, I like the way they train, but you're not gonna love everything they do. That doesn't mean that you can't still respect them and look up to them, and still, you're not gonna agree with everyone on everything. And that's totally okay. And that's not what I'm getting at here. What I'm trying to get at is that you can have those riders who you really respect, and you think, you know, that's the kind of rider that I think I want to be, or I want to have that, you know, take bits and pieces. Like, I want to have Eric Lamaze's, you know, jump off skills, and I want to have Michael Young. I keep saying, forgive me. Or I want to, like, you just take bits and pieces of what you want from these people, and you see that. I'm not saying this well. Okay. So I guess that to start to wrap up this video a little bit, because it's going to start to get pretty long here, I'm really not saying that you can't have riders, you know, both in your personal life and out on the big screens and out in the highest level of competition, who you look up to and you want to ride like. I think that's totally healthy, and I totally respect that, because I do it too, like I mentioned at the top of this video. I think that that's completely fair. I think that that's almost necessary, I would say. And so that's not what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do or what to think. I'm just trying to think out loud here and maybe make people think a little bit before they give this idea that if a rider is at the top level, they are beyond criticism. It's just not true. It's actually kind of scary, because like, everybody has riders who they think are horrible trainers or even abusive in a lot of cases. And I think that if we numb ourselves to that and just think, well, they're doing something right, they're better riders than I am, you know, I couldn't do that, so I can't criticize them. I don't think so. I think don't think that way. I think that it's completely appropriate for people at these lower levels of the sport to criticize people at the higher levels. I think it keeps them accountable, because this is our sport too, right? Like, I'm not an upper level rider. I'm not even close to an upper level rider. I'm the furthest thing from it. But I think I'm, for my age and for my level of experience, I'm a knowledgeable horse person. And it's my sport too. It's your sport. It's all of ours. Like, we are all a part of it. Whether we're winning, you know, international and national and worldwide and whatever, no. Probably not. Maybe you are. Good for you. But it's like, it's frustrating when the opinions, I guess, of people who in the same situation as me, where we spend, like, I spend all of my time, either at the barn, reading books about training, like, I'm always trying to learn. And it's really frustrating when people take the power away from us. You know what I mean? And I think that that's exactly what happens when people idolize people at the top, is what I'm getting at. When people give them this godlike position and take every bit of power away from everybody else, saying, well, you can't criticize this person because they ride at this level and you ride at this level, and therefore your opinion doesn't matter. Everybody starts here, right? Everybody starts here. All the successful riders start, they aren't born knowing how to jump, a meter 60, right? They aren't knowing how to do a perfect rollback and, run a real quick barrel pattern. Like, they don't know that kind of stuff, right? You have to start somewhere. Some people get a better start than others and move a little quicker, and other people take a pretty damn long time because it's hard. It is hard. And we're all working towards the same thing, right? We're all working towards being better equestrians, better trainers. And maybe for some of us, not all of us, maybe we are working towards being at the top of the sport. But in the meantime, even though we aren't there yet, our opinions still matter. And I think that it is completely fair for you and me, people like you and me, to criticize people at the top. And I don't think that that means bashing people just because you decided that you don't like them, right? Like, maybe you've decided that you don't like, I'm not going to toss a name out there, but like the top rider in England, I don't know, right? Like, maybe you've just decided that you don't like them. You don't like their riding style, or you think that their leg isn't solid enough, or any of this kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about holding their feet to the fire about welfare of the animal. I think that's fair. Like I said when I first opened this video up, this is kind of experimental right now. I don't know if you guys are interested in me continuing to do videos like this. If you are, I don't know, let me know. I have Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter that you can reach me at. I don't know that I'm gonna pay attention to YouTube comments. We'll see. Everybody knows how YouTube comments are, right? So if you have something productive to say, there's a lot of other ways to reach me. And I even have an anonymous box on Tumblr, so if you want to send me a message, I don't think you have to have an account to message me, so I'll make sure about that. But, yeah, I mean, I think that it's worthwhile to try to have some kind of fair and constructive dialogue in the horse world. So I'll leave it at that. And if you guys support this kind of thing, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. And I will talk to you guys the next couple of weeks.